Welcome to Dallas, NAF Next 2017. So we all at NAF National wait for this time of year. You give us such great hope and optimism for the great road ahead. This is the time we not only want to offer up and share and connect and offer strategies that maybe some have thought of and others are struggling with, but it's also a time for you to get really clear with us of what we can do to help you. Your work is the most important work. You touch children's lives every single day, and we know that those young people will be the leaders of our future and offer for our country what so many people need. You are making a difference in their lives. Give yourself a hand. It's about you. This morning is a special opportunity for us because instead of a presentation per se, we wanted to set up a conversation. And I want to tell you how special all of you are by the gift you are about to receive. You're about to hear from two people who have made some of the greatest success in finance in this country. But they, besides their own personal success in business, have a passion and a commitment for your work and for the young people of this country to promise a better future for all. And rather than a speech or a presentation, we want to have a conversation. Because at the end of the day, all of you know that it is about relationships. What connects us, moves us forward, and helps young people is not just curriculum and assessment and a set of scoped and sequenced set of events. It's about building young people's agency with each other through networks of power and association. You're going to get to hear from two people who are friends, business leaders with incredible examples of personal success, but each of them would say to you, they know they did not do this alone. They did this with others. So one is very, very familiar to all of you, and I am so pleased he is here, and that is Sandy Weill, our chairman and founder. But I would be remiss if I did not also acknowledge someone else in the room that's with him, his wife and partner of 60 years, Joan Weill. So you've read Sandy's story, and we are here because of his vision. But with us, the second person that's going to join us for this conversation is a new friend, I would like to call him now. I just met him, Robert Smith. He is chairman and CEO of Vista Equity Partners. You may know him. He's in Texas. He's one of our newest champions and is president of the Fund 2 Foundation, which is a new generous contributor to our work. We are thrilled to have him. But what's amazing about this individual, besides his passion for everything that you're doing, is look at his track record as a person. So he was trained as an engineer. He got an MBA from Columbia. He became one of the country's most successful tech investors, first at Goldman Sachs, and now through his own company, which has, drum roll please, $30 billion in capital commitments and 50,000 employees. It's a huge deal. But being successful without heart and passion and commitment for something isn't what it's all about. His commitment to equity and justice is amazing. He's the chairman of Carnegie Hall and the Robert F. Kennedy Center for Justice and Human Rights. He was also instrumental, if you haven't visited as you should, in establishing the new National Museum of African American History and Culture. Please welcome both to the stage. So this is much more cool than a speech, huh?
It is.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, it's awesome, like being in my living room.
Wow, with a few of your employees.
Well, no, literally, I grew up, as you know, with parents who are educators. And so being here with teachers and educators is literally like being at home. And we spent our summers and our weekends talking about, at least me listening, how we're going to educate our community. And so it's exciting to see all these dedicated people here looking to educate our communities and ensure that our young people have opportunities in the future. So I'm happy to be here, happy for what you've done, and of course, happy to be here with my friend Sandy, who really introduced me to NAF and all the wonderful things that you all do here. So thank you again for this.
Thank you, and to look at this room this morning and think about all the people that have given of their time and some of their finances to come here because they really understand the importance. Hello? Oh,
There we
wow.
Now
A
you're
little
live.
help from your friends.
There you are.
Basically, what I'm saying is everybody here really understands the importance of college and career ready.
Hang on, we're going to a different mic, Sandy. Go to that one here. There you go.
So can you take this off?
Yeah.
Hello? Okay. But basically, I'm thrilled that you all are here. I really think that it's so important that the United States improve its high school education results, that we really, that we train our young people for the opportunities and the jobs that are in America today. When you think of our country today, we have about 6.5 million unemployed people and 6 million jobs that are available. But the people that are looking for jobs are not qualified for a lot of the jobs that are available. So we got to change what we do. We got to think about how we can make our high school education system better. We don't even rank in the top 20 of countries in the world in our high school education. And we have young people that really, really understand it. And I think working with somebody like Robert Smith and working with all of you and with JD's leadership in thinking about how we change education, how we do a better job with young people, how we motivate these young people to really see that they can have an opportunity. And a lot of us are the first ones in our family to go to college. Not Robert. He had two parents that both were PhDs. I had two parents that barely graduated high school. But anyway, it's great to be here with all of you. I think you are a motivating force for us. And we think about how we're going to do a better job for the young people of our country so that they can really have the kind of future that a lot of us were lucky to have. Thank you.
Yes. So many of the people in this room thought I had grown another head a couple of years ago because I stood up and said, I want 100% of our high school students out of NAF to have a paid internship. We know it's transformative.
Right.
And y'all looked at me and went, great idea, JD, how are we going to do that? And as you heard even in Dallas, where they have great results in our academies, what did you indicate? 27% of the eligible students got internships. Mm-hmm. We need 100%,
right,
which means corporate engagement all the way. Mm-hmm. Sandy, you saw it, believed in it, and led it when you launched NAF 37 years ago, and you stuck to it, and you've never wavered. But as we've grown the number of students, the internship acquisition has remained flat. Robert, you have a personal story about internship tenacity and what it meant to your career.
Right.
Could you share a little bit about that personal experience,
Sure.
and let Sandy respond in terms of what he saw 37 years ago?
Sure, I'll give a little snippet, and I was excited to hear Sergio talk a little bit about his experience as an intern. Again, grew up in Denver, Colorado. Parents were both educators, and so my whole world was really surrounded by educators and teachers, and so that was what life was about. But then I was exposed in high school to this thing called a computer, and I understood that it was really, powered by this microprocessor that it was designed at this place called Bell Laboratories, and I found out there was a Bell Laboratories in Denver. And so I called them. I said, hey, I'm interested in becoming a summer intern. You have summer internships. They said, absolutely. They said, if you're between your junior and senior year in college, we'd love to talk to you. I said, well, I'm a junior in high school. I'm taking all AP classes. I'm getting all A's, just like being in college. So where do I apply? And they, of course, said, no, it isn't. They said, come back in your junior year in college. So I literally called the human resources director every day for 2 weeks. And then I called, and she, of course, stopped picking up the phone after the second day, and I just left a message. And then I called her every Monday for 5 months and left my number. And I got a call back in June, and they said, listen, a student from MIT didn't show up, so you got to watch those MIT people. That's a whole other kind. Cornellians are reliable, so just keep that in mind. A student from MIT didn't show up. We have an extra space. We don't know you, never met you, but why don't you come down and interview? And to that point, I wish there was an organization like NAF who could have prepped me for an interview. I walked in there with the only suit that I owned, driving a '69 Plymouth Satellite with $2 worth of gas in it. But I think that they saw that I was willing to be dedicated in what I did. And yes, I was there every Saturday morning. I was there from 6 in the morning, 7 o'clock in the morning, because it was a 2-hour drive away, so I'd leave at 4 to beat the traffic, and leave at 7 o'clock at night.
Yeah.
And none of the college interns spoke to me that summer, but I ended up winning the best prize for the best internship that summer. I'll tell you why. It wasn't my great genius, I can tell you it wasn't. What it was a great mentor. A guy by the name of Vic Hauser, PhD, solid state physics. He taught me the joy of figuring things out. He started off my career internship. I didn't get a picture of anything. He gave me a blank piece of paper. And he said, this is an operational amplifier. It's failing in the field in our Merlin systems. Your job is to figure out why. If you have any questions, we have a library down the hall. You have the full resources of Bell Laboratories, and I shared an office with him, and he said, you can ask me any question. Get started. So the first thing I had to do was figure out what's an operational amplifier? What's it supposed to do? Okay, what is it not doing? But the wonderful thing was I had the full resources of that company to find, and then I'd sit down with him and I'd ask a bunch of questions, and he'd get on the whiteboard and diagram it, and he said, you have any more questions? I said, nope. He said, okay, come back when you have more questions. Yeah. But what that did, and we talked about that, it created that spark.
That's right.
For me.
That's right.
And the thing I do now, I tell people, my job now is to do two things. One is to create a platform where people can become their best selves. And the second thing is, what I enjoy most, is creating elegant solutions to complex problems. That started for me when I was 17 years old as a summer intern at Bell Labs. So keep doing what you're doing. Create those sparks, and let's create more internships. So that's why
100%.
That's why I'm here.
100%.
Yeah.
So that's awesome. So Sandy, we've been bumping down this road. We know internships change lives. What's kept you at this?
You know, I'm a tenacious person. You know, I've been involved with NAF for 37 years. I've been married to my wife for 62 years. Steady as she goes.
You keep telling me it's the best decision you ever made.
I agree with that. But Robert and I have something in common. We both started at the Chemical Engineering School at Cornell. Robert graduated. I didn't. I found out, I went to a military school for 4 years of high school because I was a lousy student in school, and my parents thought I needed discipline. And I did very well in math and science, and it was the beginning of the era with Sputnik, and I thought that the new industry is going to happen with special metals and stuff like that, and maybe I should try and learn that. And I went to Cornell and started competing with kids that really knew a heck of a lot more in math and science than I did. And after an exam right before Thanksgiving, I decided that engineering was not for me and switched to liberal arts. Ended up not getting my diploma on time. When my wife and I were going to get married the next week, and her parents wanted to cancel the wedding because my father had left my mother in February of that year, and they told Joan that the apple doesn't fall far from the tree, and this guy will never make it. But Joan had confidence in me, and we stayed up one night, and I made up a cost accounting exam that I didn't take because they told me I had more than enough credits, and got my diploma in the following September with no idea of what I was going to do in this world. And walked around Manhattan trying to find a job, and eventually got a job in a Wall Street company called Bear Stearns as a runner, making $150 a month. And over the next year, I went through all parts of the back office. This is before the beginning of computers, so I had some good idea about the information that was going into computers. And one day I asked them, do you think I might be a good salesman in this business? And they said, possibly. So I went and took my exam, passed it, and that was the beginning of my first career, which was building a brokerage company, which we started about 5 years after I was in business with 3 friends. We each put in around $30,000, which was our savings and borrowings from parents. And that company grew to be the second largest company in the financial business over the next 20 years, and we sold our company to American Express. And I had just started NAF before that, and we had this one Academy of Finance in Brooklyn, New York, when it was a 2-year program then. And to watch NAF and how it's grown, and to see really the importance of how internships change people's lives. And these young people get to see that there's something beyond sweeping a floor in McDonald's or a very boring kind of job that the chances are going to leave the United States anyway, and that they too can have an opportunity. But education is going to be the key that unlocks the door to their future. And for us not to have 100% internships for our students is crazy. And we got to get corporate America to think differently about hiring high school kids rather than only kids that go to college, and take the chance with these young people, because any company that brings in a group of interns, and when I was with American Express, we took in 100 interns a year. These kids were really phenomenal, and people were so proud in the company that they were working with bright young people that really had an opportunity, and to see their enthusiasm really made the company feel better, made the people feel better, and we got to get American business to really buy into this concept of working with young people so that they know that they should go to college so that they can get these jobs and see what the opportunities are.
Here, here.
So, agreed. And I think everyone in this room agrees. And yet we're not there. So there's this struggle, right? So the obvious is, well, let's just do this. Okay, you cited the numbers, Sandy. How many jobs do we have that are open? How many people are unemployed? What is the problem here? Education's the key to matching that. But it's also a belief system. A belief system of what a young person is capable of, and whether it's make work, as you say, or they can actually contribute to the innovations. And one of the observations or concerns I have is that we aren't looking enough at the fact that our young people are companies' futures consumers. So if they could begin to think about the value to their company by having a future Gen Z buyer in their midst, talking about their products, talking about what sells to them, talking about what makes sense to them, they've got an asset if they would just embrace high school students. But that is our barrier. They go, yeah, come talk to me when they're in college, but not high school. How do we get after this? How do we really tear this down?
I've got a couple thoughts, and I think we have to start with really a global premise. And this is a thing that companies, some of them understand and not everyone is really understanding. In 2025, half of the world's population is going to be on the other side of the planet. That's point one. Point two, every single industry is digitizing. When you think about healthcare, insurance, automotive, it is all digitizing. And just looking at the demographics, there's probably 98% of the people in this room, you are all digital immigrants. The 2% are digital natives. Okay? They are the ones who are going to actually understand how to think about what is the digitization of this particular industry, how is that going to work, and how does that parlay ultimately into what I call the economic rent of opportunity remaining in America and not being exported. Because if you think about half the world's population, and it's a young population, they're going to be more digital native than we are, then you're going to actually have a conveyance of economic opportunity outside of the US. Sandy's right. Americans have to understand that we have to invest in all the resources that are America, which means all the children in America, in every community. You cannot embargo communities of talent.
Right.
And so what we have to do is create these on-ramps from those communities into the economy. Not everyone should go to college, but everyone should have a digital experience of work. You know, should we have this thing called a new collar, not white collar, not blue collar, but new collar, because even if you work at McDonald's, I will tell you, you're gonna have a digital interface. It is gonna be a connected solution that no matter what language or dialect someone's speaking into ordering the food, it will come up as to what exactly it is that they want. That's gonna be a digital interface that you're gonna have someone, you're gonna need someone who is a digital native to understand how to work that context. We have to educate companies to that importance. And that is an importance of survival for that company, not just one of, you know, to do it to a great, well, it's of survival as opposed to just flourishing.
Robert, you have another responsibility, though. You have to bring me into the digital world.
I'm working on it. I am working on it. You know, and part of what we have to do as educators is you have to bring yourselves into the digital world. And we've been talking about this. We own a company called Power School, for instance, not to push that, but we're in 135 different school systems or schools. And part of what we have to do is make sure that the teachers learn how to teach coding, how to teach, you know, the digitization, and how their students have to now think about how to embrace the future of opportunity, which is digital. There's no question about it.
Right.
So part of what our job is not only educating these students, but educating the teachers as to the importance of it and how to actually use it. So those are the dynamics. And then the next piece, Sandy, what you and I have to do is spend time with the corporate executives as well and saying, here's what you need to do, and educate them. Here's why these students are important and valuable beyond being consumers.
Right.
They're going to be the ones who actually know how to engage and interface with the systems that manage all of the economic structures that are there.
Right.
The problem is most corporate executives turn the job over to the head of HR or the head of their foundation and don't pay any attention and don't really believe in it. And
Right.
we got to get them to believe in it because that's the future of our country. If we don't do that, the United States will not be a leader in this world.
I'll tell you one of the ways we have to convince them, Sandy, is you go find the former CEO of Barnes & Noble.
Right.
And then go forward to Jeff Bezos and say, let's figure out who actually figured out the digital revolution in that business first, and who's the winner. And now you see Amazon buying grocery stores. Well, now you need to go talk to the CEO of Safeway. Wake up.
Right.
Okay? Understand where this world is going.
Right.
And understand it's going to be these young people who are going to actually drive it in that direction because they consume a whole lot differently. I'm picking up my...
Well, the guy from Safeway got it. He sold his company.
Yeah, but that's right. It's a way to tap out, right? To a great extent. So you think about, you know, I'm picking up my daughter today, 20 years old. She has no interest in driving because for her, you know, transportation is a consumable commodity.
Right.
It's Uber, it's public, whatever it might be.
Yeah.
You think about that. I mean, that was the foremost thing on my mind when I was age 14 through 16. Man, I'm going to drive a car. So understand, you know, technology creates a whole new paradigm of engagement that we have to get corporate executives to understand. Either you embrace it with the young people and their talent, or you will no longer be in business.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, we now, I think we're sort of lucky in that we now have the head of the Business Roundtable, which is about 200 of the biggest companies in the United States. And the head of the Business Roundtable is an ex-partner of mine, Jamie Dimon, and he knows NAF from the very beginning. And we can get him to really get involved and use that platform to help these young people. I mean, that's what we really have to do.
Right, exactly.
So we've talked a lot about the knowledge, right? The where the economy is going, where jobs are going to be, what a young person needs to know and be able to do to be successful. But you know, we talk about it. When I was growing up, we called them soft skills, when they're hard to get. So I never understood why they call them soft. But but those skills that differentiate the superstar from the so-so. You know, they're skills that aren't in textbooks or on computers. They are the personal development of the core of the human being that becomes something special. Now, I believe that internships spark that, reinforce it, builds networks of mentors and coaches that keep it going and growing. But when you look at the workforce today and the workforce that's coming, what are those key, top of mind, gotta have these skills? Not what you're gonna learn on coding, not those skills, the skills of the human condition.
Right.
What are those one or two skills that you see in a young person and you know they'll make it. You know that mock interview and how they took that information and played it.
Sure.
What are they? What would you call it?
I'll tell you, there are things culturally that we look for in my organization for people who are going to be successful. Look, there's one of the most important, believe it or not, we look for quietly effective people. What does that actually mean, to be quietly effective? Focused on doing the right job every time, having a moral center, an ethical center in what they do. And we perform tests and evaluations for every employee that company we buy at every, because what we're looking for are those sort of people. There are certain folks who you need to have another set of skills, the ability to present and the ability to sell, and those are great for salespeople, and those are great for people in that job. But for engineers, for developers, you need people who are really focused on getting the job done exactly right every single time. We have to make sure our organization recognizes that and doesn't just give what I call the accolades to those who are loudest in the room, but give the accolades to those who are the most effective. But you have to, as an organization, put an infrastructure in place to understand that, to quantify it in some respects, and then create the meritocracy of experience, because you want those quietly effective people. This is actually, people don't believe this is actually hard for me to do, to sit here and talk in front of 1,000 people. I'm a quiet, shy engineer. That's by nature. I'd rather sit in my room.
You're full of baloney.
No, I mean, this is hard. And I'll show you my test results. I have to peak a whole lot of energy to do this. I'd rather sit and kind of design the solution and kind of push it out and be done, right? But I learned this is what I needed to do to be successful in what I had. But there are people in my organization who may not ever learn this, but they bring the most value to my organization, and I have to make sure that they are constantly rewarded in front of the organization for the quietly effective work that they do.
I'll tell you, I think you're absolutely right, and I would like to add some other characteristics that I think people look for in hiring somebody. I think you want to find a person that believes in teamwork, not a person that just thinks about themselves, because teams are going to win, and organizations that are built on one or two superstars are not going to be the winners over time. Second, I think you want to look for somebody that's not afraid to work with people smarter than they are, because that's how you're going to gain a lot more knowledge. And if you get into a leadership position, don't be afraid of hiring people smarter than you, the CEO, are, because they're going to help the organization grow, and people are going to see that that's the kind of meritocracy you're going to have. And I think we're going to be privileged to hear a conversation after this about thinking about changing some of the methods of teaching and thinking about personalized training as a way to relate to people that can learn at this level or that level or at a very fast level, and personalize the education process to reach all of those different groups, which I think may be one of the ways that we really can advance what we're doing and really let people feel good about their experience and not be embarrassed.
Right. So, one of the things that we've tried to innovate on this internship and developing skills and imagining how to rethink what internships, how to design them and do them, to make them a bit easier, both for companies to be able to get a sense of what a young person in high school can do. So remove the fear factor, get to practice without being all in, but also spread the wealth of benefit to employees in companies who we always hear after the experience, they loved having that young person. They felt good about coaching that person. They developed a new relationship. It's all good, but you can't get in the door. So one of the strategies that we're pursuing is something called Future Ready Labs. Imagining companies partnering with each other and with universities, and not just taking one or two interns, but taking 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 100, putting them through an experience that's real, solving real problems, creating real ideas, maybe some go-to-market strategies, but allowing it to not be a heavy lift for any one company necessarily or any one employee. Any tips we're piloting. So
Right.
we'll be talking about that at the conference. We've got 3 different places trying it. We're learning a lot. Any tips in terms of innovating something that's traditional, like an internship, and innovating it to make it an internship, but so you can get to the masses?
Yeah. I will, I have a fair amount of optimism on this, on what you're doing for a couple of reasons. One, with the organization my size, I basically go to the CEO, so you're going to give me 3 summer internships, period, and that's how we get 90 to 120 a year, which is wonderful. But here's what comes out of that, to your point. America's a wonderful place. They're, in spite of what we read and all that sort of, people really want to be helpful for the most part. Yeah. And, how do you create, I'm going to call it a social networking platform or environment where people who want to volunteer to be those mentors have an opportunity to do it? And the most important thing, I think, in the mentor or the internship program is the mentor, believe it or not, more so than the job that they're actually working on. It's someone who has 10, 12, 15 years of experience that can actually just guide that student to think about things this way, challenge them this way. So, the innovation that I would think about is push the challenge to the companies in the regions or the cities or whatever it is, and give them an opportunity for people to just say, hey, I'd like to volunteer to do that, and build that pipeline of volunteers who want to be mentors in those companies. We have found in software in particular, what I call the viral adoption of software is more powerful than what I call the top-down push. So in other words, if you're using the product in an organization, it becomes more effective than if the CEO or CTO says you're now going to use this, and forcing people to change their habits. So I would probably approach it in that social networking fashion a little differently and say, let's find the companies and go to the employees. If you're interested in being a mentor, sign up here, and then we'll bring the program to your organization, because you only need 2 or 3 mentors or 3 in each company, in each location, that will change the whole culture, because you get these young, dynamic, smart, pleasant personality with a great attitude every day coming into the organization, and it sparks some excitement.
We want more of those.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. So I think that would be the one innovation or the change that I would recommend in doing
it's
that.
infectious.
It is.
And we should use some of the people that are good mentors to talk about the experience and how that made their whole company feel better about what they were doing, rather than never talk about it. We don't really use the people that are really good.
Right.
As an example, we do use the students that do well, but we should use the mentors that do well. And something that really doesn't affect this the group of students that we're talking about now with internships, but affects things in the future, is my wife said, coming in here this morning and looking around the room, that this reminded her of a meeting that we had of spouses at my old company. And basically, we had a philosophy in our company that we wanted to include spouses or partners in the knowledge and the strategy of what was doing, and tell those partners or spouses how their partner got paid, so that they knew that working in a collaborative way was important. To have, most businesses are stressful, and person coming home at night is stressed out from the business. To have a partner there that understands some of the issues. A company is much better, and people are going to be much better by including families in, and having 2 people in that family supportive of what the company is doing, rather than one person, not knowing anything about it and can't really be a partner.
Really true.
Let me give you one more addition, because in thinking about it, I would actually find any of your mentors, any of your students who are good at, production.
Okay.
And make 3-minute, 1-minute videos, GIF type videos, and put those on social media. So interviewing a mentor and a mentee, having the conversation about what it was to work together over the summer, to see that natural energy, to see that dynamic and that engagement. And then you just push that out through social media, and I think you'll get receptivity on both sides. People who want to be more mentors, and those who want to be a part of your program. So
I can feel our marketing communications staff in the room going, yes, what
good,
he said,
good.
do that.
Yeah, do that.
What
Yeah,
he
well,
said.
you're listening to a mentor to thousands.
Right.
And tens of thousands.
That's right.
And really, as an example to people in this room, what Robert has accomplished with his life, but the most important thing I think you've accomplished is not forgetting about the rest of the people in this country, and how you can really help them and be an example.
Yeah.
to really the opportunities that are here if you just take advantage of it or know it.
So as we close this part of the program, I just can't tell you how grateful we are. First of all, I had not met you till this morning, and staff came in a little after us, and they said, "How you doing, JD?" And I said, "Well, I think I just solved all of our problems because I met this guy. His name's Robert Smith, and all my checks are off. We're done. Future-ready labs, internships, we've got that figured out." So your enthusiasm, your commitment to this work is palpable. It's amazing, and I'm just so grateful. And I know I speak for everyone in this room
pleasure.
that our world will be where it should be and needs to be for all kids, with more people like you leading the charge and saying it's possible, rather than saying it's for some other kid.
Well, I'll tell you that, and thank you for that. But I have to tell you, we need the leadership of people like Sandy and Joan 37 years ago to first establish this. And now for you to help build out what I call the capacity. I love what you get, engage, connect, expand. I mean, that's what I think about it. We have to do this at scale.
Yeah.
It is of paramount importance. In fact, it's urgent in our country because there is an economic dynamic shift that is occurring globally, that if we don't engage every asset, resource, individual in every community, we will have failed this next generation. Because I will guarantee you the resources in terms of numbers of people and those assets are being utilized on the other side of the planet. And I'll say it that not in a negative way.
Right.
Okay, they're just looking to get themselves into a better economic
Advantageous
position.
way, sure.
We need all of you to continue to lead what we call these purposeful lives. My great heroes in my life were my parents because they led purposeful lives in educating the kids in our community.
Right.
And we've got to do that same thing, but now we've got to do it in a broader scale.
So this is the other imagery, though, is you and Sandy sitting side by side in terms of the relationship and the affection and commitment you have to one another around a greater good. Those are inspirational moments. They're not vignettes out in social media.
Where's your media team?
Yeah, really. Yeah. But this audience wants to, and I want to thank you very, very much for all that you
But before we go, I just want to say one other thing, that I think the most important thing that a leader can do is think about succession and pick a person that can take the organization to the next level. And I think I'm very proud to say that Robert is my successor at Carnegie Hall.
Oh, thanks.
And when I go to the meetings, I'm really proud of the thought process and what he's bringing to that. And now I have the beginning of his being captured here.
Oh.
So you all can see where I'm going.
My pleasure.
Well, nice to meet you. Thank you very much. Give him a round of applause. Come on.